Hey guys, tonight we journey into something a little shriekier. You're walking along a country road cloaked in thick milk-colored fog. Your phone's dead. The last sign of civilization was a rusted gas station 30 miles back, and even that felt like a hallucination. You can hear your own breath, loud in the silence, so loud in fact that it's almost embarrassing. You round a bend and suddenly there it is. A village so still it feels like it's holding its breath. A handful of wooden houses cluster along a crooked road, leaning like they're eavesdropping. There's a chapel missing its bell, a well that looks suspiciously like a mouth, and every window seems to have its curtains just slightly cracked, as if someone or something is watching them. You probably won't survive this, but at least it'll be interesting. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Also, let me know where you're listening from and what time it is, just so I know who's awake out there. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You push open the fence gate with a creak that sounds almost apologetic. Every inch of this village whispers a single word: don't. The cobblestone beneath your shoes is slick with moss, and even the birds have the decency to stay quiet. You meet no one. Just glances through fogged glass and shutters that snap shut the moment you notice them. You do see one child, though, peering at you from under a porch. When you blink, he's gone. You'd think you imagined it, except for the tiny, muddy footprint near your heel. This place is old. Records suggest it was first settled in the late 1500s, possibly by exiles from a Puritan colony to the north. Historians still argue whether the location was chosen for its remoteness, or whether it was the only spot the locals would allow them to take. Either way, the village kept to itself. To this day, GPS can't lock onto it. Try it. Your phone's battery flickers back for a second, 1%, then winks out again. But here's the thing. Every person here tells you, if they dare speak at all, to stay away from the house on the hill. They don't call it by name, just that house. Some make a symbol on their chest. One old man shouts, "Midnight, that's when it opens," before being shushed and ushered away by a woman who definitely wasn't there a second ago. You look up at the hill and there it is, like it's been waiting for you. Tall, weathered, gabled roof pitched like a dagger into the sky. The trees surrounding it have all bent away as if recoiling. It doesn't have a path, just worn earth leading up the slope, littered with dead leaves that crunch too loudly underfoot. Someone clearly used to live here. Someone still might. You find a worn plaque near a crumbling wall, barely legible, but it reads something like Right House Est, 1714, which is already strange because the architecture suggests something older, much older. One local legend claims it was built atop the burnt remains of a druidic shrine. Another says it's the final resting place of a man who could never die, though to be fair, people say that about a lot of weird old houses. Here's the fun part. During the Revolutionary War, soldiers reportedly avoided the hill entirely. In fact, a fringe theory suggests the area was redlined out of George Washington's own maps. Too cursed or too important. Historians still argue whether it was superstition or something quietly sanctioned. By the time you reach the gates, your legs ache and the shadows feel sticky. You get the unmistakable sensation that something is pacing you just behind your peripheral vision. And then, the fog parts. The front gate, the tall, twisted iron thing that should be chained shut, is already open. Not ajar, not broken, open with hinges that look recently oiled. You glance behind you, half hoping to see someone, anyone. But the village is gone. Not distant, gone. Swallowed by mist like a magician's flourish. The wind shifts, carrying with it the faintest scent of, is that cloves? Or old paper? Here's a weird little nugget. In the 1930s, a team of amateur archaeologists supposedly tried to excavate the hill for signs of ancient pagan ritual sites. They all abandoned the project after one night. The only statement ever made was from the team leader who muttered, "The earth there doesn't sleep, it remembers." Then he refused to speak about it ever again. He later wrote crossword puzzles for a living. Make of that what you will. The gate closes behind you with a sound like a sigh. Not slamming, not banging, just resigned, as though it's been through this before. The lawn, if you can call it that, is uneven. The grass is dark, the kind that crunches underfoot even when it's alive. Moss grows in spiral patterns near the porch, a detail that feels innocuous, until you recall that spiral carvings were often used by early Celtic priests to mark boundaries between worlds. You probably shouldn't remember that fact right now. As you mount the steps, you feel a sudden temperature drop. It's not weather, it's not altitude. It's like crossing into a freezer that's pretending to be a house. The door has a brass knocker, shaped like an open mouth. You don't touch it, because before you even lift your hand, the door opens by itself. The door doesn't creak, it doesn't groan. It swings inward with the slow, patient silence of something confident you'll walk through. And you do, because of course you do. Inside, the air hits you like a held breath. Heavy, stale, but oddly warm. Not the pleasant warmth of a hearth fire or sunlit curtains, but the damp, exhaled warmth of something that's been waiting far too long. The kind of warmth that clings to your clothes and presses gently against the back of your neck. Welcome, or maybe, welcome back. The foyer stretches out ahead of you like a throat, narrow at first, then expanding into some unseen space. A thick red carpet leads forward, laid out with a precision that feels ceremonial. Your footsteps make no sound, and that fact is more unsettling than if they had. Every instinct tells you to stop, but instinct, as it turns out, is the one thing this house knows how to smother. To your right is a staircase that snakes up and then disappears around a bend. To your left, a series of closed doors. But straight ahead, where the air feels thickest, is the drawing room. You step toward it. Every inch of this house hums, not loudly, not audibly even, but it's there. You feel it in your teeth, in your knees, like a tuning fork buried in the walls. The house vibrates softly, insistently. And the deeper in you go, the louder it gets, not in your ears, but in your bones. The drawing room is immaculate, covered in a thin layer of dust, sure, but untouched. The furniture's carved from dark wood, possibly mahogany or something even older. There's a grand piano in the corner, closed, its bench ever so slightly pulled out as if someone just stood up. A set of velvet chairs, one of them turned toward the window. You feel very much like you've just walked into someone's house while they're still home. Only they're just in the other room. Here's something your middle school teacher didn't tell you. During the 1800s, spiritualists believed certain houses were not haunted, but alive. Not possessed by ghosts or demons, but actual sentient structures that grew louder the more you ignored them. Some fringe practitioners insisted these homes sang at frequencies only the desperate could hear. You're not desperate, of course. You're just curious. On the mantel above the cold fireplace is a cluster of candlesticks, their wax melted in patterns that trail upward instead of down. You run your finger over the wood, and when you look at it, there's ash, fresh, despite the hearth being cold. As if something recently burned and then unburned itself just to mess with you. You catch movement in the glass, reflected, not seen. Behind you, a hallway you didn't notice when you came in. It's short, ending in a closed door that's definitely too small to lead anywhere useful. Still, that hum pulls you toward it. The door doesn't creak either. It just opens. Inside, a conservatory, or what remains of one. Overgrown plants droop from shattered pots. Ivy crawls along the tiled floor. The ceiling is glass, cracked in a spiderweb of breaks, and rain is trickling through, despite the fact that it's not raining outside. Now that's new. Here's where we dip into the historical nugget. In 1892, a woman named Clara Winslow was rumored to have lived here with her 2 sons. Her diary, what remains of it, was found in this very room. It described a sensation of the house singing at night. And then after several entries about her children's dreams turning violent, the pages just stop. The last sentence. He's standing inside the wall now. Of course, some experts believe the diary was a forgery created during the Victorian era, when Gothic horror was all the rage. Historians still argue whether Clara Winslow even existed. But you're standing in the room she described, and the air feels like it's listening. You back out slowly, because something about this room feels wrong. Like it's not part of the house, but grafted onto it. You close the door behind you, but it doesn't stay shut. It clicks, waits a beat, and then swings open just a crack. Enough to say you'll be back. You make your way toward the stairs. They look deceptively normal. Oak wood, a handrail so smooth it gleams. But with each step upward, the hum gets louder. Not unbearable, just more personal. You don't hear anything, but your thoughts feel crowded, like someone is standing beside each of them, just watching, smiling maybe. You're halfway up when you realize the pattern in the carpet below spells something when viewed from above. It takes you a moment. Then you see it. MIDNIGHT. You laugh. A short, breathless chuckle. Of course it does. At the top of the stairs, a long corridor greets you, lined with doors on both sides. Every door is identical. Black wood, brass knobs, keyholes that yawn open like little mouths. You turn to glance down the stairs again, just for reassurance. They're gone. Not hidden, not obscured, just not there. Where the staircase once was, there is now a blank wall, wallpapered and seamless. You blink hard, rub your eyes. Still there. The only sound is that hum. Closer now, more intimate. Here's a charming footnote from the Fringe. In the 1970s, a fringe acoustic theorist named Marvin Tull proposed that some haunted structures emitted infrasonic vibrations that induced hallucinations and dread. He tested this theory in crypts and abandoned subway stations. His final experiment? This house. He recorded a 45-second tape and never spoke again. Some say he joined a monastery. Others say he simply stopped answering questions, content to sit in silence. And yes, his tape was mysteriously erased. At the end of the hallway is a window. You walk to it, needing to see something, anything normal. What you see is not the village. It's the same hill you climbed, but from the outside. You see yourself, small and far away, walking toward the house through fog that hasn't lifted. But you're here. So who is that? You step back from the glass slowly. The house hums louder, and the nearest door opens a crack, just enough for the light inside to spill out across your feet. You don't want to open the door, but of course you do, because the light spilling out onto the hallway isn't harsh or flickering. It's soft, warm, cozy even. It smells faintly of cinnamon and cedar, the way you imagine autumn might smell if it were trying to lure you into a trap. The door swings wide on its own, revealing a room that doesn't match the rest of the house at all. It's not haunted mansion chic. It's more like a grandmother's sitting room, right down to the doilies and floral wallpaper. You step inside. The moment you do, the hum softens, as if the house is giving you a moment to breathe, which should probably worry you more than it comforts you. The room is full of portraits, floor to ceiling, packed so tightly that you can't even see the wallpaper behind them anymore. They're all painted in the same style, late 18th to early 19th century, oil on canvas, with the kind of grim solemnity that makes every subject look like they've either just committed a crime or are about to. Dozens of faces stare out at you. Men in cravats, women with impossible hair, children with old eyes. And then, near the fireplace, one particular frame catches your attention. The subject is a young woman, probably in her early 20s. There's nothing especially dramatic about the painting. Her expression is placid, her dress a modest blue, but her eyes are a little too knowing, a little too focused. And unless your imagination is playing tricks on you, she looks exactly like you. Historians still argue whether it was common for artists in the early 1800s to use facial templates, repeating similar features across different commissions. Some even suggest entire families were painted using the same model, with only subtle alterations. But there's nothing subtle about this resemblance, not when the painting is clearly 2 centuries old. You lean in, studying the signature at the bottom. E-Wright 1823, the same surname from the plaque outside. And beneath the signature, carved into the wood of the frame, not painted, is a tiny inscription. She came back. You back away slowly, knocking into a table. The lamp on it teeters, but doesn't fall. As you steady it, something underneath catches your eye. A small book, half tucked under a lace cloth. You pull it out and brush away the dust. It's a guest book, the kind you might see in an old bed and breakfast. Pages yellowed with age, its spine cracked. Most of the entries are in elaborate cursive. Names, dates, occasional comments like lovely stay or beautiful rooms. But as you flip further back, the entries become stranger. One says, Heard singing at 3:13 a.m. No source. Another. Mirror won't show my face. The final entry, scrawled in a frantic hand and dated exactly 1 year ago today, simply reads, "Do not fall asleep. Do not go to the basement. Do not turn around." So naturally you turn around. And of course, nothing's there. Just the closed door. But for a split second you thought, no, you were sure. One of the portraits had shifted. A man in the upper left corner, once facing forward, now seems to be looking slightly to the right, like he's following someone or something. It's fine, just your nerves. It's never just your nerves. Here's a historical detail that might keep you warm tonight. During the 17th and 18th centuries, there were occasional reports of portraits changing in homes across Europe. Not in a ghostly Scooby-Doo eyes following you way, but literally shifting. Some believed they were warnings. Others thought they were messages. And a few fringe theorists, because there are always fringe theorists, believed portraits acted as anchors for souls that couldn't move on. Their expressions changed as the spirit's moods did. You try not to look at the portrait of yourself again. It's hard not to. The eyes are magnetic. You feel like she's judging you, or maybe waiting for you to catch up to her. With effort, you step back into the hallway. The door closes behind you with a gentle click, locking itself. You glance back once. The portrait room is gone. No, really, the door is smooth now, seamless, as if it never existed. The hallway is quiet again, but the hum is returning, stronger now as if it's pleased. You keep moving. At the far end of the hall, you find a staircase leading down. Not the grand staircase from before, but a narrow servant's stairwell tucked behind a door you might have missed if you weren't paying attention. The walls are tighter here, the light dimmer. You can hear it ticking now, faint and deliberate, like a grandfather clock counting down, only slower, like it's savoring the seconds. Halfway down, you pass a tiny landing with a window. You peek out, hoping again to spot the village. But instead, you see a forest, not a hill, not a house, a forest. Dense, black, wet. Something moves between the trees, low to the ground, fast. But when you blink, it's gone. And the trees are gone too. And the hill is back. Reality seems to be flickering, the house playing with the world like a cat batting at a toy. You reach the bottom of the stairs and find yourself in a hallway that shouldn't be here, because you're directly beneath the room with the portraits. But here, on the ceiling, you see dozens of eyes painted in careful circles, staring down. One of them blinks. But don't worry, it's probably just an old paint bubble collapsing. Definitely not a sentient ceiling keeping tabs on you. Definitely not that. You walk faster now, even though the floor is sticky with something you don't want to identify. Just as you pass a closed door on your right, you hear something whisper. She remembers now. You freeze, your breath fogs, your skin feels too tight. The hum is so close now, like a voice about to speak. You press your hand to the wall for balance and feel a heartbeat. A pulse, slow and steady. The house is humming and breathing and remembering. You jerk your hand back from the wall like it burned you, but it didn't burn. Not really. It throbbed. The sensation still echoes up your fingers. This slow, measured thump like you've touched the skin of some colossal, sleeping thing. The wall isn't warm or cold, it's just alive, and it knows you touched it. You blink rapidly and force yourself forward, stepping over a warped stretch of wooden floorboards that seem to shift just slightly under your feet. The hall here narrows, pressing inward like a throat. You're heading deeper now, no mistaking it. The ceiling lowers by just enough that you hunch a little. The air tastes like copper and mothballs. But then, as suddenly as it narrowed, the hallway opens. You're standing in a study. Not just any study, though. This one is pristine, dustless, almost sterile if not for the clutter of antique maps and parchment scrolls tacked onto the walls with brass pins. A desk dominates the center, polished to a mirror shine. On it, a lantern, a sealed envelope, and an astrolabe that spins slowly of its own accord. The hum fades a little here, almost like the house is letting you listen. You pick up the envelope. It's addressed to the one who still remembers. The wax seal is cracked already. You didn't break it, or maybe you did, just not this time around. Inside is a single sheet of thick parchment, handwritten in clean, looping ink. Memory is a curse when you are inside the machine. Do not go to room 7. Do not say your own name aloud. If you hear the bells, it is already too late. Helpful. You flip the page over, scrawled in a different hand in red pencil. Don't let her hear you breathe. You don't ask who she is. You don't want to, but deep down, you think you already know. Historians still argue whether the machine house legends of Northern Europe refer to an actual structure or just a metaphor for oppressive regimes of the 19th century. But a minority of scholars, some dismissed as cranks, others simply too persistent, believe these stories originated from one building, a house that learned and changed, not through wires or gears but memory, a house that didn't haunt but adapted. And the word machine wasn't literal, it was biological. You step away from the desk. Behind it is a wall of bookshelves, but one section juts out strangely. On closer inspection, it's a door. No knob, just a vertical slit where a handle should be. It opens when you place your hand on it. Behind it, stairs, always with the stairs. This flight leads up somehow, despite the fact you're already below the main floor. The geometry here is losing patience with physics. As you climb, the lights dim. Each step creaks in protest. There's something odd about the acoustics. Your breathing sounds louder, closer, like it's not echoing, but being mirrored. You exhale, and half a second later, you hear it again, faint, behind you. You stop, hold your breath, silence. Then, a breath that isn't yours. Quick, ragged, hungry. You whip around. The stairwell is empty, but you don't stay to argue with it. At the top, you emerge into another hallway, but this one is wrong. It's upside down. The lights hang from the floor. The paintings are inverted. And yet you're walking upright, as if gravity doesn't care. The hum is back, softer here. Not warning you, not threatening, just watching. You pass a painting that depicts a long table covered in decayed fruit and candles that drip upward. At the far end of the table sits a woman in a blue dress. Her face is blurred in the painting, but the brushstrokes look intentional, like someone tried to erase her from within the oil itself. And next to her, barely visible, a small black shape, four-legged canine. You stare too long, because that's when you hear it. The howling. It starts low, like wind through a broken flute. But it rises, shrieking not from the hallway, but from within the walls. Something is moving in there, clawing at the interior. The walls tremble. You run, because you should. Even here, instinct is not entirely useless. The hallway warps as you move. The door frames bend. The lights on the floor flicker. You reach the end and find a door with a Roman numeral scratched into the wood. 7. Of course it's room 7. Of course it is. The letter said not to go in. So naturally, your hand's already on the knob. You hesitate, just long enough to notice the wood is warm. The doorknob pulses gently, like a heartbeat, like your heartbeat. The moment you turn it, the howling stops. Not fades, not lowers, stops. You open the door. Inside the room is blindingly white, sterile, smooth. It doesn't look built. It looks grown. No furniture, no windows. The walls curve upward into a dome, seamless. In the center of the floor, a single wooden chair. And seated in it is you. Well, not exactly. This version of you is a little older, or maybe just tired. The eyes are dull, unfocused. Lips moving, but no sound comes out. The figure rocks slightly, as if caught in a rhythm only it can hear. It doesn't look up when you step in. The hum is deafening now. You step closer, and that's when you hear it. The other you whispers, "She remembers everything now." You try to back away, but the door is gone. The walls are smooth, unbroken. The room tightens, not metaphorically, literally. The dome constricts, like a lung exhaling. The air grows hotter, denser. Your twin in the chair finally looks up, and those eyes aren't dull anymore. They are yours, but something else is behind them, something ancient. The hum isn't just in your body anymore, it's in your name. And that's when you remember you've been here before. It rushes back with the force of a breaking dam. Not memories exactly, more like echoes, sensations. The feeling of cold stone under your bare feet, the scent of burning lavender and rust. A lullaby in a language you don't speak anymore, though your tongue still aches to hum it. You're standing frozen in room 7, or maybe you're not standing at all. The floor feels less like a surface and more like a thought, a suggestion. The other you, still seated in the chair, watches you now without blinking. Her expression shifts, ever so slightly, to one of pity, and that's somehow worse than fear. You step forward, unsure why. There's a gravity to this room, a pull you can't resist. Maybe this version of you is a warning. Or maybe, historians still argue whether these phenomena are psychological projections or literal dimensional overlaps. This is what you become if you stay too long in the house that screams. The figure in the chair opens her mouth. You brace for something awful. Words that tear through time, screams that unravel thought. But she just says, "Check the pocket." You glance down. Your jacket's breast pocket is buttoned. Had it always been? You fumble it open. Inside you find a small iron key. Heavy, smooth from years of use. It's warm. Before you can ask what it opens, the other you slumps back, eyes closing, as if the last of her strength was spent in delivering that simple message. Then you, fades. Not in a puff of smoke or a dramatic whirl of energy. She just quietly unbecomes, like a memory overwritten. The room softens with her departure. The hum still buzzes in your bones, but it's dimmer now. Not gone, but recessed. As if the house is waiting to see what you'll do next. And wouldn't you know it? There's a door again. Not the one you entered, but a new one, etched directly into the far wall. The symbol of a key is carved above the frame. How considerate. You unlock it and step through. You're back in the house. Not the sterile dome of room 7. Not the portrait hallway. Somewhere else. A sitting room, maybe. Dimly lit by a fireplace that seems to burn with shadow more than flame. The room is cluttered with clocks. Mantle clocks, cuckoo clocks, pocket watches dangling from nails in the walls. None of them tick. All of them are frozen at the same time. 3:13, same as the guestbook entry. You look down at your own watch. It doesn't say 3:13. It doesn't say anything. The hands are spinning backwards in a slow spiral. You exhale, your breath fogs. There's something about 3:13 that sits in your chest like a nail. Maybe it's just superstition. Or maybe it's history. You recall that in early Victorian England, it was once believed that 3:13 a.m. marked a thin point in the fabric between this world and what lay beyond. Not just spirits, memories themselves could leak. Forgotten traumas, old promises, names you'd sworn never to say aloud. No one could prove it. But some households, especially in the more superstitious pockets of Wales and Scotland, routinely marked 3:13 as a moment of silence. Curtains drawn, mirrors veiled. You blink and suddenly realize you are surrounded by mirrors. The clocks were distractions. All 4 walls of this room are mirrored. But the reflections are wrong. They don't mimic your movements. They lag, slightly, like they're thinking about it first. Or like they're waiting to see if you do the same thing again before they follow. You test it. You raise your right hand. Your reflection lifts its left, then switches to the right, then grins. You do not grin. You take a slow step back. The mirrors lean forward. One of them cracks. A single jagged line across its surface, as if a hairline fracture has opened in its logic. Behind the crack, a blackness that's deeper than shadow. It looks wet. You don't wait around to see what crawls out of it. There's another door, old wood, no keyhole this time, but it's marked with something you don't like at all. Your full name, carved deep into the wood, letter by letter. You back away. The door creaks open. Behind it, not darkness. A hallway, familiar, too familiar. It's the hallway you walk through on your way to room 7. But this time, there's only one door, at the far end. It's glowing gently. The same soft amber light as the first room with the portraits. You don't remember walking, but suddenly you're in front of it. The humming is a whisper now. You press your ear to the door. You hear breathing. 2 voices. One is yours. The other is not. The historical tidbit to chew on while your soul itches. During early 20th century experiments into sensory isolation, it was found that the brain, when denied external stimuli, often invents internal echoes, sounds, voices, even entire selves. These aren't hallucinations necessarily. Some psychologists believe they are alternate behavioral selves, versions of you locked in neural recursion, waiting, just waiting. You open the door. Inside is a bedroom, simple, austere. A canopied bed, slightly raised, dust-coated windows, a mirror propped in the corner. On the bed, a bundle, wrapped in linen, gently breathing. You step closer. It's a child, no more than 5, and it's you, as you once were, or never were. The features are unmistakable. The child stirs but doesn't wake, murmurs something under its breath in a language you know is gone now. You kneel, touch your own hand, and the moment your fingers connect, flash. You see a stairwell spiraling endlessly down. Flash. A woman in blue, standing at the edge of a cliff, whispering names into a void. Flash. The house pulsing like a heart, folding its walls around someone screaming. You're not holding the child anymore. The bed is empty. but the hum is rising again. And this time it's singing. The song weaves through the walls. Not a melody you recognize, but it pulls at your spine with the heavy inevitability of lullabies forgotten before you were born. It's high and airy, like someone exhaling vowels in the next room. Almost sweet, if you didn't know better. And you do know better now. You don't remember sitting, but your knees have buckled, and you're on the floor, hands clutching the worn wooden slats. The hum continues its tune above and beneath you, each note resonating in your ribs like a bell dipped in fog. The child version of you, gone. The bed, undisturbed. And in that peculiar way this house moves, the door you came through has shifted again. Now it's just a mirror. The same mirror that was in the corner, except now it's closer. And it's not showing the room behind you, it's showing a corridor you haven't walked yet. You stand slowly, your knees crackling like dry leaves. You're not surprised when the mirror opens like a door. You are, however, a little surprised when you hear the first click of heels. Not your shoes, someone else. She walks slowly, calmly, just on the other side of the mirror-turned door. You can't see her yet, but you can smell her before she rounds the corner. Lavender and rust. You retreat one step, then two, until your back brushes the old canopy bed. Her shadow appears before she does. Long, wrong, like her bones are almost human. When she enters the room, no ceremony, no hesitation. It's as though the air freezes around her. Her face is veiled, draped in gauze that floats without breeze. A long, deep blue dress trails behind her like ink spilled across time. You open your mouth, maybe to scream, maybe to say your name, but the memory of the letter stops you cold. Do not say your own name aloud, and you almost do, because something about her face, behind the gauze, behind time, it feels familiar. Mother? Sister? Self? The house is full of mirrors, after all. She speaks, but not in words. It's the hum. It's always been the hum. She hums the lullaby, and as she does, the mirror beside her begins to melt. No other word for it. The glass liquefies into quicksilver, sloughing down the wall like silver tears. You are supposed to follow. You do. Because what's the alternative? The corridor behind the mirror stretches impossibly long. 1,000 doors on either side, each one numbered incorrectly. Some are labeled in Roman numerals, some in binary, some in symbols you feel in your teeth rather than understand. You pass one door that reads 313 again, just in bold serif font. You don't touch it. The woman glides ahead, not walking so much as floating. She never turns around. But when she finally stops, it's in front of a door shaped like a coffin lid. Your name is etched there again, but so is hers. And you know her name now, because it's been inside you all this time. It's not something you can say aloud, not because of any curse, but because your vocal cords physically refuse. But you know it, like a scar you forgot you had. She touches the door. It breathes open. Inside, not darkness, but memory. Not yours, hers. The room is a cathedral of thought. You see shelves made of neurons, books made of pulses and synapse fire. As you step through, your skin tingles, like walking through a waterfall of static. And here's the strange thing, this place feels safe. No humming, no watching, no wrongness. Just memory. You walk slowly, touching objects that seem impossibly distant and intimate at the same time. A wedding veil with blood on the hem, a candle that never melted, a phonograph playing a record with no groove. And you, so many yous. Moments you didn't live but might have, a life you nearly had. Historians still argue whether quantum memory overlap is the result of multiverse leakage, or simply our brains recalling inherited trauma from generations before. Whichever the truth, this room makes the theory feel real. You come to a pedestal at the center. On it, a heart. Not a symbol. A heart, still beating. The woman in blue stands beside it, unmoving. You understand now. The house doesn't feed on fear. It feeds on possibility. Every version of you that could have been, every version that was, it collects them, preserves them, and in doing so becomes more than architecture. It becomes you. And her? She's the memory that stayed too long. The one that didn't forget. You lock eyes with her. Through the veil now faded, and you don't see a monster. You see a protector of the house, of the memory, of you. She reaches forward and places something cold in your hand. The astrolabe. From the study, but now it ticks. One rotation. Click, and suddenly you remember the real door. Not metaphorically, literally. Where it is, you run. Back through the cathedral of memory, through the glimmering corridor of liquid mirrors, past the room where your child self once slept, until you find the door again, the real one, small, hidden beneath the stairs. You insert the ticking astrolabe. It fits. The door opens, and you step out, into silence, into morning. The house is behind you, but you're not sure if you left it, or if it let you go. One final fringe fact. In several rural Eastern European traditions, a house that breathes was considered sacred, not haunted. A place where the dead negotiated with time itself, and memory lived in wood and stone. You look back once, and the house is gone. The house is gone, but not forgotten. It leaves behind no foundation, no chimney, no errant step half swallowed by earth. Just a patch of frost-bitten grass that hums faintly under your feet, even in daylight. The morning sun filters through thin clouds above, but something in the light feels filtered secondhand, like it bounced through a dozen realities before finding you. And you're back where you began, almost. You recognize the tree line now. This clearing rests just outside the village you passed on your way to the house that screams. The strange thing is, no birds sing, no wind stirs, and your phone, previously long dead, buzzes softly in your pocket. Battery 13%, time 3:13 a.m. Still, you check your messages out of reflex. A string of alerts pop up, each more nonsensical than the last. Unknown number, don't let her wake. Voicemail, 0 o'clock. Calendar reminder, you died here once. You blink, it's gone. And now you really notice it. Your shadow is missing. The trees cast long, distorted lines across the frost, but your figure leaves no trace. Not in the grass, not in the light. You are not alone. You are never alone now. You start to walk back toward the village, shoes crunching softly over frozen grass. The air grows warmer as you go, but your skin doesn't register the change. Your body feels like a photograph printed one shade too pale. As you walk, memories flicker at the edges of your sight like ghosts ducking behind trees. A boy on a tricycle that no longer exists. A woman in blue, crouching beside a creek, whispering to fish that don't swim there anymore. A house, your house, that burns in reverse. Fire retreating into floorboards, walls rebuilding one scorched plank at a time. They don't feel like visions, they feel like options. You reach the first house on the edge of town. It looks older, weathered, but also too clean, like it's been placed here to fool you. The front door is slightly ajar, not wide open, just cracked. Enough to suggest you could go in, but not enough to make you want to. On the porch, a newspaper. You glance down. The date? June 16th. But the year is wrong, 1 year ahead. And beneath the date, in small type, the headline reads, "Local stranger found disoriented, claims house 8 time." Your photo is there, except you don't remember it being taken. And your eyes are shut in the picture. You don't take the paper, you just walk. You make it 3 steps before a voice calls your name. Your real name. You freeze. There's no one visible, but you feel it in the trees, in the dirt, in the air behind your ears. It's her. She followed you out, or maybe she let herself be remembered. Historically speaking, several cultures, especially in pre-Columbian Mesoamerica, believed that remembering the dead with too much clarity risked summoning them fully. That memory, when too perfect, became a doorway. And that names, when spoken aloud, turned memories into anchors. You keep walking. The hum is gone now. Not banished, just quiet. But it's inside you. You can feel it where your heartbeat used to be. You return to your rented room above the bakery. The landlord doesn't notice anything off, though he frowns and asks how your walk in the woods went. You just smile, nod, say, "I needed some fresh air." That night, you try to sleep, but you can't, not really, because the mirror in your room keeps fogging up. And in the condensation, a handprint appears, from the inside. That's when you realize you never left the house. You're just in another room, a quieter one. For now, you lie back and try not to think. About the hallway with infinite doors, about room 7, about the child on the bed, about the key still in your pocket, warm as blood. Instead, you think about history. You remember how, during the Cold War, NATO briefly considered the tactical use of psychological warfare, based entirely on constructed architecture. Buildings designed to disorient, to trap the mind, to reshape thought. It sounds like fiction, but fragments of those blueprints exist. Rooms that loop back, mirrors that reflect a second too late, whole houses designed to hum, and yet none of them were ever built, because they'd already been found, discovered, left standing, waiting, like this one. You roll over, and the floor beneath your bed creaks, just once, a rhythmic creak, like footsteps. You don't look, you won't survive looking. The woman in blue hums softly just beyond the edge of sleep, and your eyes close, not because you're safe, but because the house wants you rested for the next room. You wake up, but the room is different, not just moved around different, wrong different. Your blanket is heavier, woven from a fabric you don't remember owning. The ceiling is higher, curved like the inside of a rib cage. and the light filtering in through the curtains is a thick ochre gold that feels preserved, like it's been waiting days, maybe centuries, for you to open your eyes. You sit up slowly, breath held. You are not in the rented room above the bakery anymore. The mirror at the far wall is the first giveaway. Same frame, same dusty glass, but this time it doesn't reflect you. It reflects a child's nursery. Pale walls, a rocking chair, a tiny bed with a canopy of stitched stars. You blink. The reflection doesn't change, and that's when you hear it. Click, click, click. The sound of something tapping from inside the mirror. You cross the room, as if in a dream or a reenactment. And the moment your finger touches the mirror's surface, everything behind it freezes. The crib, the rocking chair, the movement of dust in the light, all frozen, except for the handprint, tiny, pressed against the glass from the other side. You lift your hand and press it back. The mirror inhales. You are pulled through. No sensation, no transition. One blink and you're in the nursery now. But you're not alone. A figure sits in the rocking chair. This time it's not the woman in blue. It's an old man, wearing a tattered overcoat, boots caked with ash. His head is bowed, hat in hand, but you recognize him. You've seen his face before, in a painting in the house's foyer. The man doesn't speak at first, just rocks, slow, rhythmic, like a pendulum holding time together. Then he says, "You're further in than most ever get." His voice is soft, like rustling leaves and broken clocks. She's taken a liking to you, that's rare. Most visitors just scream until they dissolve. You try to speak, but no sound comes. He smiles, sad. "Don't bother. This room only listens to memory." You look down. Your feet aren't yours. They're smaller. The bed, your bed, is child-sized again. You're a child again. No mirror in this room now. Just four walls and the old man and the silent weight of knowing. The man sighs. Time to remember why you came. You didn't come out of curiosity. You came looking for something. Someone. Your sibling. The one who vanished when you were 10. The one no one else remembered. Except you. You blink and the old man is gone. In his place, a photo. Black and white, curled edges. Two kids. One is you. The other, a blurry outline where a face should be. Historians still argue whether shared false memories like the Mandela effect are glitches in collective cognition or evidence of reality's pliability. You begin to suspect it's neither. You begin to think memory is a place, and someone's been rearranging the furniture. The door creaks open. You expect the woman in blue, but this time it's you. Bolder, hollow-eyed, wearing your high school jacket. The one with the burned cuff from that one bonfire. She, or you, says nothing. Just walks across the room and places something in the crib. A note. You pick it up. It says, "This is the 8th version. You have 3 more, don't fail again." Behind you the walls pulse, a heartbeat. You turn. A door appears where the mirror was. But this one's different. It's red. You open it. Inside, a library. Ceilingless. Walls made of open books. The woman in blue waits beside a spiraling staircase that rises into a skyless void. She gestures. You climb. The steps are made of words. Literal letters, some still wet with ink. Each step feels like a sentence you once spoke but can't recall anymore. Halfway up, you find a book, bound in mirror glass. You open it. The pages reflect you, but not your face, your decisions. Moments when you hesitated. Lied, forgot, chose the safer path. One by one, they shine back at you like medals on a traitor's chest. Then you reach the top, a door. Of course. This one is made of wood and metal wrapped in thorny vines. The woman in blue hands you a pair of shears. No words, just a look that says, "Are you sure?" You begin cutting. The thorns resist, curling inward, nicking your skin, but you persist until the final vine falls away. You open the door. Inside, a church. Empty pews, dusty sunlight through stained glass. And at the altar, your sibling, not lost. Waiting. They turn, smile, say it took you long enough. You rush forward, but your feet sink into the stone. Heavy now. Heavy with everything you remembered too late. They raise a hand. "You'll have to leave me again," they say, "but not before you know the truth." The stained glass begins to flicker. Each panel a memory. One not your own, some not human. A Mayan priest chants in an empty temple. A Victorian child drops a key down a well. A Cold War spy maps an impossible house in blue chalk on concrete walls. All of them, pieces of her. The house doesn't just store the lost. It becomes them. 1,000 lives lived simultaneously. And now you too are inside it. But the sibling holds out a hand. You can still go. You take it. You fall, not downward, inward. The house screams again. But this time it sounds like relief. You don't land with a crash, you land with a breath. One deep inhale like resurfacing from dark water. And when you open your eyes, you're back in the corridor, the endless one, with those two close wallpaper patterns that pulse if you stare too long, and that faint damp smell like mushrooms and wet paper. Except now there's a difference. All the doors are open, everyone. They line the hallway like gaping mouths, each one leading into a pocket of not quite reality. You peer into one, a hospital room with no windows, a nurse sleeping upright, her pulse monitor flatlined. Into another, a kitchen full of clocks, all ticking different rhythms, none correct. You realize with the kind of quiet dread that doesn't shout but settles, that these rooms are moments. Not yours, other people's. Stored here, preserved like peaches in syrup. You walk. Each open doorway you pass whispers something as you go. A name, a date, a sound. Breaking glass. A baby's first laugh. The whisper of snow landing on leaves. It's beautiful. It's overwhelming. You reach one that draws you in without consent. A classroom. Not yours, but achingly familiar. A chalkboard with impossible equations. One loops in a circle written in reverse. The teacher? Missing? Students? Motionless, turned towards you. Faces blotted with ink where eyes should be. And in the seat at the back, your sibling again. This time, older than you remember. They smile, scribble something on a scrap of paper. You step closer. It reads, "This is where she finds out." You blink, and the desks are gone. The walls melt upward like candle wax in reverse. You are back in the house proper. But it's not the house you entered. It's vast now. Cathedral-sized. Its rooms looping through each other like Mobius strips. There's no logic to the layout. The kitchen leads into a library that leads into a desert at midnight that leads into your childhood bedroom. You try to keep walking, but the house shifts. The floor warps underfoot, boards curling like the pages of a wet book. You're being redirected. Somewhere deliberate. You're funneled into a room you haven't seen before. No walls. Just curtains blowing in a wind that doesn't exist. And in the center, a circle of chairs. Every one of them is filled by people you know, people you've lost. One by one, they turn to face you. None speak, but they remember you. That's the worst part. One of them, your grandmother maybe, holds out a single item. A photograph of the house that screams, taken from a distance. Grainy. But there in the corner, the tiniest detail, you, standing in the upstairs window. Waving. Historians still argue whether time loops are physical phenomena, psychological perceptions, or simply errors in measurement. But in this moment, one thing is crystal clear. You have been here before, over and over, and maybe you're not here to escape. Maybe you're here to replace something. You stagger backward. The chair circle folds in on itself, vanishing into the floor like dominoes tipped inward. Suddenly you're in the hallway again, but there's only one door now. Room 13. You already know what's inside. You open it and find a mirror. Not like the others. This one shows everything. Not just you, but the you that stayed. The version of you that never left the house. That became it. They smile and wave, exactly like the photo. And you realize, that's not you waving. That's the house, wearing you. Your reflection begins to flicker. Now it's a stranger. Now it's a wolf. Now it's your sibling again. Older still, whispering something you can't hear but feel in your bones. Then all at once the mirror shatters. Not into shards, but into doors. 15 of them, each one labeled with a version of your name. Some spelled wrong, some in other alphabets, some scratched out. You choose one, because you have to, because the house is watching. And you step through, back into the hallway. But now, you are the one closing doors. Each one seals with a soft click behind you. Memory by memory, version by version, until there is only silence. Not empty, just waiting. You sit, the wallpaper still pulses. The air still smells faintly of lost time and burned sage. And far down the hall, the woman in blue waits, holding the key you dropped 7 rooms ago. She doesn't speak, just turns, and walks into the next room. You follow, because what else is there? Because you're not done yet. You step through the doorway after her, into the kind of darkness that doesn't just hide light, it eats it. But the woman in blue glows faintly. Not like a flashlight, more like phosphorescence, like something deep sea and ancient. Her steps make no sound, but the room reacts to her passage. Floorboards gently exhaling, air thickening with scent. Jasmine and something faintly metallic. You follow, not because you trust her, but because you've run out of better ideas. This room is unlike any other you've seen in the house that screams. There are no walls, only stairs, rising in concentric spirals that defy architecture, physics, even good taste. They stretch into the dark, folding over themselves like origami rendered in stone. You start to climb. The woman in blue doesn't. She simply points upward and dissolves into ink on the floor. You pause just for a moment before climbing the steps. Every footfall echoes back with answers you didn't ask for. You never forgave your father. You left her waiting. You forgot your promise. With every step, the air changes, thins. You taste thunder in it. Halfway up, the stairs open onto a platform. You almost don't notice it at first, just a landing maybe. But no, this one is deliberate. There's a chair in the middle. One of those old, cracked leather armchairs that smells like stories and pipe smoke. And sitting in it? Yourself, much older, eyes closed, breathing shallow, hands resting on a worn book titled The House That Screams. You try to speak, to ask a question, but your older self just shushes you, raises a finger, points behind you. You turn. A window has appeared where none was before. Outside, a battlefield. Not with soldiers, with versions of you. 15 or 20. Different clothes, different ages. Fighting creatures made of teeth and memory. Silent things. All elbows and misremembered lullabies. And one by one, those other yous fall. Not in gore. They just flicker, like radio signals fading out, until there's one left. You, but not now you. The you who never entered the house. The skeptic, the safe version. They look straight through the window at you. And mouth, run. You don't. You can't. Because the platform begins to fall away, crumbling into letters, sentences, the very language of this house. You jump onto the next stair, and you keep climbing. You pass through a door made of stitched skin, book skin, not human, and find yourself in a gallery. But not of paintings, of possibilities. Each canvas holds a moment you might have lived. There you are in Rome, 1453, watching the Ottomans march. There you are as a Victorian surgeon, hands shaking over a rusty scalpel. There you are, 20 years from now, living alone in a cabin, muttering about things no one believes. Historians still argue whether certain dreams, those intense déjà vu-laced sequences, are truly echoes of past lives, or merely the brain sorting static from your daily noise. But these feel more like surveillance footage than imagination. At the end of the gallery, a glass coffin. Inside, the first version of you that ever entered the house. They're still breathing, but just barely. You kneel beside it. The nameplate reads, Original Witness, and suddenly it clicks. You weren't the first. You were just the first to make it this far. Because the house doesn't just trap people. It studies them. It writes them. You remember now, the journal in the beginning, the one you pocketed. You open it again. Blank pages, until now. Words begin appearing, written by invisible hands. This is how you end. You drop the book, and it starts laughing. Not in your ears, in your bones. You run down another hallway, past 1,000 doors now, all flickering in and out of reality, and then finally into a small white room, perfectly square, lit by a single hanging bulb. In the center, a typewriter, old, heavy, ink-stained, and the woman in blue behind it typing with slow, precise movements. She doesn't look up. She just says, sit. You do, because of course you do. And she hands you the next page. It's blank. You look at her. Now what? She smiles. The first real smile you've seen. Now she says, you write your way out. Your fingers hover over the keys. They feel unfamiliar. Your hands shake, but you begin to type. And with every keystroke, you feel pieces of the house folding in on themselves. Rooms collapsing inward. Dust turning back into thought. You're not escaping. You're rewriting. Every floorboard, every scream, every locked door. You reach the bottom of the page. You stop. And in the silence that follows, the house does something it's never done before. It sighs, like it's been holding its breath for 1,000 years. The woman in blue stands, walks behind you, whispers in your ear, only 5 more versions to go. And then she's gone. The light goes out, and all you can hear is footsteps. Your own, approaching. You know those footsteps aren't coming from the hallway. They're coming from somewhere closer, behind your ribs maybe, from inside your spine, like something waking up and stretching its legs after a very long sleep. You don't wait. The typewriter is gone now. The chair too. You're standing in a room that doesn't even try to pretend it has walls. Just a dim mist stretching out into forever. The floor is a checkerboard now. Black and white squares that pulse ever so slightly, like they're breathing, and scattered across the board. Pieces. Not chess pieces, though that would be too easy. These are people, or parts of people. That same smirking librarian from earlier, her lower half melted into the tile. The mailman who handed you the original letter, glassy-eyed and perfectly still. A child in a raincoat holding a balloon shaped like a key. They don't speak. They don't move. They just wait. You step forward. The floor groans sincerely like it's trying to warn you. A voice, your voice, but wrong, echoes from every direction. You're almost at the scream, and that's when the light changes. Because the house doesn't just scream at midnight. It becomes midnight. Everything tilts into that strange hour, when the world slips slightly sideways, and all the rules get fuzzy. You don't know how you know this, but you do. Time has snapped in half. You're walking inside the space between 11:59 and 12:01. Historians still argue whether the concept of liminal time, threshold moments like twilight or the stroke of midnight, has actual mystical properties, or is simply a human way of dramatizing transition. But here, in the belly of the house that screams, it doesn't feel metaphorical. It feels mechanical, as if midnight is a switch and something just flipped it. Ahead you see a door, wooden, heavy, with a brass knocker shaped like a screaming mouth. Yeah, subtle. You reach for it, only for it to disappear, replaced instantly by a mirror. This one is different than before. No distortions, just you. Except you're not blinking. And when you move your hand, the reflection doesn't move. It just grins, then turns, and walks away from you, into the glass. You watch yourself disappear, and the glass goes black. You blink, and now you're inside the room again, but it's changed. You're in a dining room. Long table, candles flickering, though you smell no wax. Each seat is filled with a version of you. All different eras, different moods. Like someone flipped through your life like a magazine and ripped out a page from each decade. And sitting at the head of the table, the woman in blue. Only now she's not a woman. Not really. She's made of paper. Pages from your journal folded into a human shape. She nods, and everyone else nods with her. You don't sit. You ask, what happens now? She raises her fork, taps it against her glass. The sound is deafening. It sounds like your childhood. Like a scream muffled in a pillow. Like the moment you forgot your own name for 2 seconds in the grocery store as a kid. Then she speaks. Now we eat what we are. The table disappears. Everyone vanishes, and you're alone again. You breathe, and you're back in your own skin. You're standing in a room you recognize. It's the first room from when you entered the house. The ceiling fan, the journal, the ticking clock that reads 11:59. Except this time something's different. You look down, and there's a child in the room. Barefoot, sitting with their back against the door, playing with a music box. They look up at you, eyes too old, too knowing. They speak. I've been waiting for you to remember. You kneel, ask, who are you? They don't answer right away. They just open the music box. The tune it plays, it's your ringtone, the one you had when you lost your phone that summer in the woods. And suddenly you remember. That night, the call you never answered. The sound echoing from your backpack as you ran from something. The house didn't find you then. You found it, or maybe you left something behind and it called you back. The child stands, hands you the music box, says, if you play this at the right time, the scream won't find you. And just like that, they vanish. You're alone again, but you're holding the one thing that feels real. You pocket it, turn to the door, and this time you don't hesitate. You open it and find a staircase spiraling downward. Of course you do. You start to descend. The walls are lined with photographs now, each one a frozen moment of terror. But not from horror films or old stories. From your life, every time your heart raced for no reason. Every nightmare you woke up from but couldn't remember. Every phone call you ignored because something felt wrong. The house remembers, and it's curated an exhibit. You keep walking. The stairs grow narrower. The photos blur, and you begin to hear a sound. Soft at first, a low hum. It grows, becomes a whisper, becomes a moan, becomes a full-bodied, lung-splitting scream! It rips through the house like a pressure wave. It tears through memory, through physics, through every lie you ever told yourself to sleep better at night. And it says one word, welcome. And then, silence. You stand very still. The scream isn't echoing anymore. It didn't bounce off walls. It didn't fade. It arrived like a guest who uses the front door for the first time in years, and now it's just here, settled into the space like a heavy fog. You're in a narrow stone corridor now, the kind they probably had in medieval dungeons, except this one is lined with dimly glowing script instead of torches. The words pulse faintly, and some of them you recognize. Phrases you've spoken in fear or anger, maybe even whispered while sleep-talking. Others are in languages you feel you once knew. Ancient Greek, Sumerian, possibly early Basque. Historians still argue whether some root languages are simply lost or deliberately erased from human memory, buried beneath trauma and myth. You're starting to suspect the house knows the answer. You walk, because what else are you going to do? Behind you, the corridor seals itself shut. Ahead of you, the walls begin to move, not shifting or collapsing, but sliding sideways, revealing hidden windows. Inside each one is a version of your life had you never found the house. One shows a quiet family dinner. Another, a book you published, same title as the one in the journal. Another, you alone in a clean white room, humming tunelessly as machines click and monitor your vitals. Not all of them are tragic. Some look peaceful, but they all feel wrong because none of them are now. You step past the last window and enter a cavernous chamber with a ceiling too high to see. At the center of the floor is a massive, spiraling clock. Its hands don't tick. They writhe like snakes made of bone and brass. Hovering above it just slightly is a single word rotating in midair. Unspoken! You approach it slowly. As you get closer, memories start to bleed in. Not yours. Someone else's. You see a war fought in winter. Snow stained not with blood but ink. You see a monk in Iceland, feverishly transcribing a manuscript that vanishes every time he turns the page. You see a woman who looks like your mother, standing in the center of a field and singing to a house that hasn't been built yet. You blink. The clock speaks. Yes, it speaks. In a voice that doesn't use sound, it uses temperature. You feel the message like an oven opening. Midnight is not a time. It's a choice. You ask, what choice? No response. Only silence. Then the floor begins to ripple beneath you, like the surface of a lake. You fall, not downward but inward, and land in a library. Not the dusty, sinister one from before. This one is made of water. Books float gently past on currents. Shelves stretch upward like coral reefs. The ceiling shimmers with the illusion of sky, but you know better by now. One of the books bumps your shoulder. You grab it. It's dry. Its title, How You Almost Got Out. You open to the first page. It's blank, until you blink. Then words begin to write themselves. And this time, it's your handwriting. The first line, I should have turned back at the stairs. You sit. Let the currents carry you. The water is warm, soothing, almost enough to make you forget the scream. Almost. But then the water starts to vibrate. A sound ripples through it. Not sharp, not deafening, but low and impossible. The kind of noise a glacier might make in its sleep. You look up. The surface of the water begins to crack like glass. From above, you see shadows descending. Not creatures. Concepts. Fear. Regret. Time. Memory. Each one shaped like something you once dreamed about and promptly forgot. They don't touch you. They just circle. And one by one, they speak in your voice. You left the window open. You never answered her last text. You wished it all away. You scream. Not out loud, but something deep in you does. And that's what the house was waiting for. Because that's the scream. Not its own. Yours. Midnight isn't about the house screaming. It's about when you finally do. When you stop holding it in. All the grief, the guilt, the things unsaid and unresolved spilled like milk across memory. And now the house opens itself. A trapdoor yawns below you. You fall again, through pages, years, versions, and land back in the hallway where it all began. Only this time you're holding a key. Where it came from, you don't know, but it fits the door that's appeared on the far end. You don't run. You walk, steady. You reach the door. It's made of black glass, reflected in it. Not just you, but every version of you that survived. They nod. You nod back. You insert the key. And for once, something unlocks with a soft click. No screams, no drama, just an invitation, and a single word glowing behind the door. Exit. You step through and find yourself standing in a garden. Not the twisted, rotted kind you'd expect from the house. No, this garden is beautiful. Overgrown, yes. Wild. But the moonlight hits it just right, and the flowers bloom as if on cue. Some of them you recognize. Lavender, night jasmine, trumpet vines. Others shouldn't exist. A blue dandelion, a rose made entirely of thorns. The air smells sweet and a little burnt, like someone left tea boiling too long. And in the middle of it all is a bench. On the bench, a letter. The envelope is addressed to you at the end. You sit, you open it. It's blank. You laugh, you cry, you breathe. And somewhere in the distance, the house shifts. Not crumbles, not collapses, just shifts, like a sleeper rolling over in bed. You're not free, not exactly, but you're outside of it now. You walk the garden path. Along the way, you notice small things. The way the ground hums like an old refrigerator. The way the wind sounds like distant laughter. The subtle flicker of the stars above you as if blinking in Morse code. You don't know what they're saying. Maybe you made it. Maybe don't look back. Mainstream folklore often speaks of fairy paths. Trails that appear only under moonlight, often leading wanderers into other realms. Historians still argue whether these myths were cautionary tales or clever metaphors for liminal psychological states. But you're walking one right now, and then you see it, a sundial, in the moonlight. Yes, it shouldn't work, but again, Nothing in this garden follows the usual rules. The sundial's shadow points to a single word etched into the stone. Remember. That's when it clicks. The house doesn't trap you with fear. It traps you with forgetting. Forgetting who you are, what you've survived, what you still carry even now. It feeds on your silence. Your scream wasn't just a release, it was a reminder. You were here. You were real. You refused to disappear without a sound. And now the house has no more power over you, unless you give it back. You step past the sundial. Find yourself in a clearing. And in the center, a bonfire. It burns low but steady. Around it, chairs. Empty ones, except one chair is taken. By someone who looks exactly like your grandmother, but also a little like your first teacher. And a bit like the old man from the bus who once told you, "Don't blink too fast. Time hates that." They nod at you. Say nothing. Just gesture to the seat across from them. You sit. The fire crackles. And for the first time all night, there is no sound except that fire. No creaks. No breathing. No footsteps. Just warmth. The person across from you holds out their hand. There's a match in it. You take it. They nod again, stand and walk into the dark. And you know what to do. You strike the match. The flame flares blue, then orange, then something entirely without name. You toss it into the fire. It roars, and with it, everything you were ready to let go of. Old regrets, old fears, old echoes, gone. The fire dims, the chairs vanish. The garden starts to fold inward. You stand, and suddenly you're in a room again. A real one. Your own, maybe. Hard to say. It smells right. The light is soft. The ceiling fan spins gently above. And there on the nightstand, the music box, still closed, still waiting. You climb into the bed, pull the blanket up, breathe in deep. The house didn't scream at you, you screamed back. And in doing so, you gave it what it never had before. A witness, a survivor, a storyteller. You look at the clock. It reads 12:01. And outside, the wind is quiet. No footsteps, no shifting doors, no more mirrors. You made it. The air in the room is so still it feels sacred. You lie there for a moment, eyes half closed, heart slowing down after the night's impossible gauntlet. The ceiling fan above you keeps its lazy rhythm, blades whispering the kind of hush that only comes at the tail end of something ancient. But something still lingers. Not dread, not exactly. It's more like a thread, thin, silken, pulling at the edge of your awareness. The kind you can either follow or ignore, but not both. You sit up. The music box is still on the nightstand, still closed, still heavy with whatever memory or moment it's been holding back. And now it's different. Before it was just decoration, atmosphere, a haunting. Now it's a decision. You touch the lid. It's warm. You lift it slowly. Inside, instead of the expected spinning ballerina or wind-up gears, there's a small black stone. Perfectly round. Perfectly matte. It absorbs light like a sponge, refusing reflection. Ancient historians once wrote of shadow talismans, tokens that carry dreams from one realm to the next, passed down like heirlooms or curses. Historians still argue whether these artifacts were symbolic or literal tools of astral travel. You're holding one now. As soon as you touch it, the walls shimmer. No peeling paint, no rotting wallpaper, just the air shifting, as though some deeper layer of the house still wants a word with you. And you don't resist, not anymore, because you understand now. The house is part of you, not in a "you're secretly the villain" way. More in the sense that every person carries a version of it inside. The doors we avoid, the screams we swallow, the memories we misplace like car keys on a bad day. You walk through the shimmer and find yourself standing in a room made of mirrors. But these mirrors don't reflect your face. They reflect your choices. One mirror shows the moment you first ignored the journal. Another, the time you almost left through the cellar. Another, when you trusted the voice upstairs. Tiny variations, each of them a real path you could have taken. You don't flinch, not anymore, because the secret isn't about escaping the house. It's about seeing it, naming it, owning it. You close your eyes and say gently, "I remember." A warmth rises from beneath your feet, up through your legs, your spine, your chest, and the mirrors begin to melt, not destructively but peacefully, like ice in springtime. What's left behind is nothing, just open space. And floating in that space is a door. Plain. Wooden. No handle, only a peephole. You approach it, peer through, and on the other side, you see yourself. Sleeping. In your actual room. Phone plugged in. Fan humming. Maybe even a cat curled up by your knees. The real you. Still dreaming. Or maybe finally waking. The door swings open without a sound. You step through, and now, you're back. But something's different. The house around you is just your house now. Quiet. Safe. You reach into your pocket expecting the key, the journal, the stone, but your pocket is empty. They're part of the dream now. Or maybe you left them behind for the next person. You check your reflection. You're you, but softer somehow, like someone who faced their own midnight and walked back out. The clock on your wall reads 12:07. Midnight is past. You made your choice. And the house, it'll sleep again until the next scream. You move through the room in slow, deliberate steps. Everything feels real now. Not surreal, not haunted, just yours. The fan blades still spin overhead, slow and steady. The floor creaks under your feet in the usual way. Not the ominous, whispering kind of creak you'd come to expect. Your bed is still warm. You left an indentation in the pillow. It's all proof that you made it back. You walk to the window. Outside, the sky is that hazy shade between night and dawn. You can't quite tell if it's late or early. Maybe time doesn't want to commit either. The trees rustle in the soft breeze, and a streetlight flickers, not from malevolence, just old wiring. You breathe, deep, full, and for the first time, you don't feel like someone else is in the room. Just you, with your thoughts, your heartbeat, your own silence. It's strange, isn't it? How quiet can be the most terrifying thing, until you survive enough noise to crave it. You open the journal one last time, blank, every page. You smile. That's how it should be. Because the next story is yours to write. You walk back to the nightstand and close the music box. The stone's gone. Maybe it was never real. Or maybe it simply returned to wherever these kinds of relics come from. Passed back into the hands of the house. You flick off the bedside light. Then from somewhere deep in the walls, you feel it. Gratitude. A soft exhale from the structure itself. Not a groan, not a creak. Just peace. You realize now the house doesn't scream at people. It screams through them. It waits for someone to understand it, to survive it, to walk its impossible maze and come back not as a victim but as a witness. And you witnessed it all. The mirrors, the scream, the garden, the things unsaid. You carry them now, not as a burden, but as a badge. A strange kind of honor no one else will understand unless they've been through it too. And maybe one day, someone will find their way to you. Say something cryptic like, "Have you ever dreamed of a door that doesn't open?" And you'll nod. Maybe hand them the music box. You lie back in bed, pull the covers over your shoulders. You feel tired, but in the best possible way. Like you've finished a long book that changed you. Like you've been running for years and finally made it to a porch light and a welcome mat. Outside, the wind dies down. A new silence settles. One that doesn't want anything from you. One that gives. And the final thought that drifts through your head before sleep is not, "What was that?" but, "I'm still here." You smile. You let the quiet take you. And this time there's no scream, just sleep. Wind down, 300 words. You lie completely still now, wrapped in the hush that follows stories like this. There's nothing left to chase, nothing left to solve. The hallway has gone dark again, but not in a threatening way. Just quiet, like a theater after the credits roll. Your breath deepens, the muscles behind your eyes relax. You feel the tension in your shoulders begin to melt, gently unwinding like threads in an old sweater. There's no need to open the journal again. No need to revisit the garden or the screams or the mirrors. They're behind you now, like footprints on a path that only appeared because you walked it. Maybe you didn't get every answer, but the house doesn't work that way. It doesn't deal in certainty. It whispers in questions. And tonight, you listened. You survived the impossible, navigated the unreal, and came back to yourself. Stronger, stranger, softer. Whatever the house wanted from you, it got it. And what it gave you in return is something quieter, harder to name. Stillness, clarity, closure. So now just breathe. Let the rhythm of your heart align with the fan above, with the quiet around you. The night is almost over. The dream is already fading. The scream is just an echo now, far away, dissolving into the wind. And you're safe. You're home. You're asleep.